Nobody is ready for this. What is about to unfold across the United States over the next several days is something that most people have not seen in a very long time, and frankly, the majority of the country is completely unprepared for what is coming. We are talking about a storm system that is so powerful, so expansive, and so unusual for this time of year that even the most seasoned meteorologists are taking a second look at their models and shaking their heads. This is not your average late spring storm. This is something that comes around maybe once every several years, and it is about to make a very dramatic entrance. So if you are anywhere from the Pacific coast all the way to the Atlantic seaboard, you are going to want to stay with me through this entire forecast, because there are details in here that could genuinely affect your safety over the coming days. We have a lot to cover today. A lot of new model data has just come in, and I want to make sure we go through everything step by step so that you have the clearest picture possible of what is headed your way. Let's get right into it. So let's start with the big picture, because I think it is really important to understand why this storm is so unusual before we get into the day-by-day timing breakdown. What we are dealing with here is an incredibly deep and powerful upper-level low-pressure system that has been churning for several days now and is now positioned in a way that is going to create absolute chaos across a massive portion of the country. This is not a small system. This is not something that is going to clip one region and move on. This is a large-scale atmospheric event that is going to plant itself right over the middle of the country and just spin and spin and spin, pulling in cold air from the north, moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and energy from the jet stream all at the same time. When you get all three of those ingredients combining like this, you end up with a setup that can produce everything from violent tornadoes to historic snowfall, and sometimes in locations that are only a few hundred miles apart. That is exactly what we are looking at right now, and it is something that I genuinely do not think most people are ready for. Now, I want to start with what is happening right now, because there is already severe weather in progress across portions of the southern plains and the Rockies. We have a slight risk of severe weather that is currently active across a pretty wide swath of territory, and the main concerns right now are damaging wind gusts and large hail. Wind gusts in some of these storms could be reaching 70 to 80 miles per hour. We are already seeing some very large hail reports coming in from parts of West Texas and New Mexico. If you are in the Amarillo area, the Lubbock area, or anywhere in the eastern New Mexico corridor, you need to be heads up right now, because there are some cells developing that could produce hail up to 2 inches in diameter in those wind gusts I mentioned. The tornado threat today is lower, but it is not zero, particularly in central and southern Texas, where the atmospheric setup has just enough ingredients for a brief spin-up tornado, especially if we see any of these storms develop into full supercell structures this afternoon. So please do not take today lightly, even though it is not the biggest day of this entire event. The bigger days are still ahead of us, but today still demands your attention if you are in the affected zones. As we roll into tonight, things are going to start to get a lot more interesting across a completely different part of the country. And this is the part that I think is going to shock a lot of people. We have a strong low-pressure system that has been developing over Canada, and it is now beginning to drop southward into New England. And here is the thing that is going to catch most people completely off guard. This low-pressure system is cold enough and is dropping fast enough that we are actually going to see snowfall in the northeast tonight and into early tomorrow morning. I know it sounds absolutely crazy. We are talking about the end of May here. Most people in New England have already put their winter coats away. The breadth of it is not a reason to panic. It is a reason to be specific. A storm that affects everyone does not affect everyone in the same way at the same time. Your hazard is different from your cousin's hazard 3 states away. Your window is different from your neighbor's window in a different elevation zone. The worst thing you can do with a system like this is see the word everyone in the headline and treat it as equally threatening to you at every hour of the next 7 days. Find your specific county, find your specific hazard window, find your specific threat type, and build your preparedness around that specific information. NWS point forecasts are county-specific, SPC outlooks are regionalized. Your local NWS office's forecast discussion is updated multiple times per day and written by meteorologists who know your terrain, your rivers, your microclimates. Use those tools. They exist precisely for moments like this one. The atmosphere built this storm over the Pacific over the last week. It is now aimed at every state in the lower 48. You have today, right now, to make sure you are ready for your piece of it. Do not wait for the watch. The watch confirms what the forecast already told you. The forecast is telling you now. I also want to say something about mobile homes, because I have said it before and I will keep saying it. There is no version of this storm system where a mobile home is adequate shelter during a tornado warning. Not in Kansas on Thursday, not in Alabama on Friday night, not anywhere in the severe weather corridor this system will produce. The risk of death in a manufactured structure during a significant tornado is 15 to 20 times higher than in a permanent frame building. If you live in a mobile home and a tornado warning is issued for your county, you need a pre-identified destination before this week, not during it. Identify a church, a school, a fire station, any permanent structure within 2 minutes of where you live. Have the conversation now while the weather is calm, because the moment a warning tone sounds at 2 a.m. is not the moment for problem solving. The warning system in this country is extraordinary. The NWS offices that will be working around the clock this week, the meteorologists issuing products at 3 in the morning, the emergency managers coordinating shelter openings across dozens of counties simultaneously, all of it works. What determines the outcome of a week like this one is not whether the warnings go out. They will. What determines the outcome is whether the people in the path received those warnings, had a plan, and had a shelter that matched the threat. Every one of those three things is something you control. Right now, today, stay prepared, stay connected, stay weather aware. I will have updates as the system evolves. I want to start today with a single line from the Weather Prediction Center's latest public discussion, issued this morning at 5:47 a.m. Eastern. It is one of those rare sentences that forecasters only write when they genuinely mean it. A major multi-phase storm system will impact virtually every region of the contiguous United States over the next 7 days, with significant hazards expected from the Pacific coast to the Atlantic seaboard. Every region. Not most regions. Not large portions of the country. Every region. That is not dramatic language from a cable news Chiron. That is the Weather Prediction Center, the same office that coordinates national forecast guidance for all 122 NWS field offices, telling you in plain operational language that no one is sitting this one out. The Pacific Northwest gets it first, the Rockies get it second, the Plains get it third, the Midwest gets it fourth, the South gets it fifth, and the Northeast gets it last, but it gets it. If you live in the continental United States, this storm system has your name on it somewhere in the 7-day outlook. Today is the day to pay attention, not tomorrow when the first watches are posted, not the day the warnings go up. Today. Let me tell you exactly what is coming and exactly why it is going to be as significant as the models are suggesting. It starts offshore. It always starts offshore. A deep upper-level trough has been digging southward off the Pacific coast for the last 36 hours, pulling cold air from the Gulf of Alaska southward into a region that has been running warmer than normal at the surface for most of the past month. When you stack cold air aloft on top of warm, moisture-laden surface air, you build instability. And when that instability is focused by a tightening pressure gradient along a well-defined frontal boundary, you do not get scattered showers. You get an organized, coherent storm system with enough energy to survive a coast-to-coast transit of the United States without falling apart. That is what the models are showing, and they have been showing it consistently for 4 days now. When GFS, the European and the Canadian all agree on the same general solution for 4 days running, forecasters take that seriously. This is not a case of one rogue model run suggesting something dramatic. This is a case of every major modeling system telling the same story from 4 days out, which is about as much confidence as operational forecasting ever gets. Here is how it unfolds, region by region, because the hazards are different depending on where you are, and I want to be precise about what each area should actually prepare for. The Pacific Northwest takes the first hit beginning tonight and into tomorrow. The leading edge of the system will push onshore across northern California, Oregon, and Washington as a cold front with a surge of subtropical moisture feeding into it from the southwest. This is an atmospheric river signature on the water vapor imagery, not a classical Pacific frontal system. Atmospheric rivers carry somewhere between 7 and 15 times the average flow of water at the mouth of the Mississippi River. They are not subtle weather events. When one of these moisture plumes aims at a coastline, you measure the results in inches per hour, not tenths of an inch per day. Rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour are possible along the Oregon Coast Range and the Cascades tomorrow morning. Total rainfall accumulations of 4 to 8 inches over 36 hours are expected in the terrain-enhanced zones, with localized totals near 10 inches possible, where the flow is most directly perpendicular to the mountain ranges. The rivers in this region, particularly the Willamette, the Chehalis, and the Snoqualmie, are already running above seasonal normal from recent rainfall. Additional 4 to 8 inch totals on top of saturated soils mean rapid river rises. If you are in a flood-prone area of western Oregon or western Washington, do not wait for a watch to be issued. Do your flood preparedness tonight, because watches will become warnings faster than people expect when soils are already wet. Behind the Pacific front, the atmosphere does not relax. The upper-level trough deepens as it moves inland, and what was a rain-dominant event on the coast transitions into a snow event for the interior mountains. The Cascades, the Northern Rockies, and eventually the Colorado Rockies are all in the snow corridor as this system pushes east. Snow levels will drop to 3,000 feet in the northern Rockies by Wednesday and to 4,000 feet in Colorado by Thursday. Passes including Snoqualmie, Stevens, and Marias in the northern tier, and Vail Pass, Eisenhower Tunnel, and Wolf Creek in Colorado will see significant accumulation. If you are planning mountain travel anywhere in the western interior this week, check road conditions the morning you travel, not the night before. These situations evolve faster than a 12-hour-old forecast can capture. Now, the part that makes this storm system different from a typical Pacific intrusion is what happens when it exits the Rockies and encounters the plains. Most Pacific systems weaken